Okay, so the previous week we were going through the chapter of. So the previous week we were going through the chapter of Masa al-Khuffain, wiping over socks, and we went through the different types of socks where it would be permissible to do masa over them, would be permissible to wipe over them, and this would serve as a substitute for washing the feet, which is the default command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The default command of Allah is that we need to wash our feet. This is the default command. So if we want to suspend the default command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then we need something equally strong. Okay? Because the Quran is definitive. It was revealed to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and each and every word in the Quran, this is preserved. So each and every command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is preserved, and each and every command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala must be followed. So the default is that we have to wash our feet. So if we want to wipe, then we need something equally strong as the Quran to suspend that command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we have that in the form of mutawatir hadith. So we have numerous hadith narrated by numerous Sahaba who are on record saying that the Prophet ﷺ, he would wear leather socks and he would subsequently wipe over the leather socks. So thin socks would not fulfill the criteria of leather socks. So thin socks where the skin is visible, this would not fulfill the criteria of leather socks. It would not fulfill the criteria of having leather sewn on the bottom of the sole. It would not fulfill the criteria of water for leathers, for the way how leather socks, they prevent water from seeping through. So cotton socks, thin cotton socks would not prevent water from seeping through. We went over conditions as well related to doing masa on leather socks. There were 7 conditions for masa to be permissible. So the first is that one should wear them after washing the feet, and that they should cover the ankles, number 2. Number 3, there should be that ability that if a person desires, he can walk in those socks without the socks tearing. And also it is not permissible to do masa on footgear that is made from glass, wood, iron, or anything which is not malleable. 4th, that the socks need to be free from any kind of, from tears, rips, equivalent to 3 of the toes from the finger. Number 5, they should be able to stick to the foot on its own without tying it, with anything external. And number 6, there shouldn't be any possibility of water penetrating the sock and getting to the skin. So that would be a cause for prevention for doing masa over the socks. And finally, number 7, a person has to have his foot, his complete foot, for masa to be valid or for masa to be permissible. Meaning that if a person doesn't have his foot, he has lost his foot, it was amputated, or perhaps he was not born with a foot, specifically the front portion. And so in this kind of situation, if the front portion of the foot is not there, then it would not be permissible for him to wipe over socks in that kind of situation. Now the second subchapter, it deals with the duration of masa. So it mentions وَيَمْسَحُ الْمُقِيمُ يَوْمًا وَلَيْلَةً وَالْمُسَافِرُ ثَلَاثَةَ أَيَّامٍ بِلَيَالِيهَا, that wiping over the socks for a muqim, someone who is stationary, meaning someone who is living within his locality. So it's permissible for him to wipe for 1 day and 1 night, so for 24 hours. Right? So if a person is not traveling more than 48 hours, doesn't have intention to travel 48 hours, then that person is muqim, meaning he's stationary, he's living in his own locality. So for such an individual who wears leather socks or socks which are permissible to wipe over, so this person would be permitted to wipe over these socks for 1 day and 1 night after he breaks his wudu. For the musafir, the dispensation is a little bit more broad for obvious reasons, and that is because a musafir, a traveler, faces many hardships, and one of the hardships that the musafir faces is washing the feet, which is quite difficult when traveling, and those who travel can attest to this. So for the musafir, the dispensation is for 3 days and 3 nights. Now the question, وَإِبْتِدَاءُ الْمُدَّةِ, when does that time period start? مِنْ وَقْتِ الْحَدَثِ بَعْدَ لُبْسِ الْخُفَّيْنِ. So from the time the person breaks the wudu, after wearing the socks. وَإِنْ مَسَى مُقِيمٌ ثُمَّ سَافَرَ. Now if a person is muqim and he wipes over the socks, ثُمَّ سَافَرَ, and then he travels, قَبْلَ تَمَامِ مُدَّتِهِ, prior to the duration ending, أَتَمَّ مُدَّةَ الْمُسَافِرِ. So this person will become a musafir, thus the dispensation of wiping for 3 days and 3 nights will now become applicable for him. Right? وَإِنْ أَقَامَ الْمُسَافِرِ. Now on the flip side, if a musafir becomes muqim, right? So a person comes back to his locality, right? He has 3 days, 3 nights, he comes back to his locality, now he's muqim, right? He's in his locality. So, and he's in his locality بَعْدَمَا مَسَى يَوْمًا وَلَيْلَةً, after he has wiped for 1 day, 1 night. So نَزَعَ, he'll remove his socks. وَإِلَّا, if not, يُتِمُّ يَوْمًا وَلَيْلَةً. Right? He will complete 1 day and 1 night. Right? So this is the duration for masa, and we'll stop over here. Any questions? Okay. Subhanallah. Astaghfirullah wa atubu ilayk.